Hey there, welcome to Caffeine TV. This is your host Konishka Chakraborty, otherwise known as Konishko_developer. Today we are taking a look at Kodular. We all know that creating apps is a craze right now. Even little kids are doing it, and yeah, why miss out? When starting out creating apps, it might be daunting since most methods of app creation require you to learn coding. And if you don't already know some basics of coding, it can get scary. So, Kodular is a service which allows you to create apps without coding per se. You join blocks, create apps, it's all very easy, and we're going to take a look at how it all works. Now, I have been using this service for a couple years now, more than a couple years, so I know a thing or two. Still, I don't know everything, and the whole point of this channel is we learn together. So, without further ado, let's check this out. So, to get started, you visit creator.kodular.io or c.kodular.io, whichever floats your boat. Life pro tip, just bookmark Kodular to your bookmarks bar. That saves more time than shaving a couple characters off of your address. Anyway, I'm going to continue with Google. You can easily continue with the other options. I just prefer to log in with Google. And now we are authorizing Kodular Creator to access our Kodular account. Now, what's up with that? You see, Kodular stands for coding plus modular. And these modules are the Kodular Creator, Kodular Account, and some other modules which are currently not available, but they were available in the past and they should be available in the future. These are the Kodular Store and other stuff. So, we'll authorize Kodular Creator. Yeah. Terms of use and privacy policy. You should absolutely give this a read. Do not skip this because even though it might seem like legal jargon to you, it matters a lot. It matters a lot in the future, and you totally should not skip it because if you skip it and you break a clause in the terms of service, you're going to be in trouble. And another life pro tip, avoid trouble whenever possible. I personally have read this all on my personal account. So I'm going to continue here, and yeah, just read this when you do it yourself. And we're at the main screen. This is what you will see when you log in for the first time. Getting started with Kodular. Obviously, if you're not logging in for the first time, you're not getting started, you're just continuing your journey with Kodular. So, yeah. You do not have any projects in Kodular. You're right, I do not have any projects in the Caffeine software account yet. To create your first project, click the Create Project button at the top, or to learn how to use Kodular, click the Docs icon on the top right. That's this one right here, or ask on our community. Happy coding. Thing is, I personally have contributed to the docs in the past, so yeah, I'll be very happy if you go and read those. Those solve 97% of all problems that you may have, or at least questions you may have, because problems are not solved in the docs, the problems are solved in the community. And I personally am quite active on the community, so if you ask something and someone doesn't answer you by the time I check, chances are I'll answer if I have an answer. Anyway, now we have Kodular all to ourselves. So we'll go ahead and create project. That's this. Now we need a project name. It can be anything you want, but it has some restrictions in the naming, so I can't start it with an asterisk. Project names must start with a letter and can contain only letters, numbers, and underscores. So we're going to listen to that because we want to be able to create our project. For our first project, we'll just name it PR1. Simple and adheres to the naming scheme. Okay, configure your project. These are some basic screen 1 properties. We'll get to all that later. Don't worry, I'm here. So from the top down, we have the theme, which can be set to default. That means it is light when your device is set to light, it is dark when your device is set to dark. It is quite important, Android 10 onwards, but if you don't want to go into the hassle, it's always better to choose a theme. Yeah, I like dark theme on my phone, but light theme executed properly does look good. So yeah, choose what you want and choose what you think your users will like, because in the end that's what matters. We'll just leave this on default for now. The minimum SDK or the minimum Android version. Now do not get this confused with your target SDK. That is set by Kodular internally and you can't change it. What this does is it tells a device whether it is allowed to install the app. Let's say I set this to Android 8.1, just an arbitrary number. What this does is whenever an Android device with Android version lower than 8.1 will try to install the app via an APK, because if you're distributing via the Play Store, it will automatically check for the Android version, so we don't have to go into that right now. What it will do is when trying to install from an APK, the device will see that, okay, this app requires a newer Android version. I don't have the newer Android version. I should not install this. If I install this, I'll have problems. So it's good to have if you want to restrict your app to users of newer Android versions. I personally prefer Android 5.2 to 5.02 because that's when material design was introduced. And below Android 5, you actually break some of the material design components. So Android 5 is a good starting point. Now the package name. By default, the naming scheme is io.kodular.yourmail.your project name. Now it can be anything you want. However, there are some naming rules set by Android in the first place, and if you don't adhere to those, your app will just not be installed. Case closed. So yeah, don't mess with this if you don't know what you're doing, but you'll know what you're doing soon enough because you're here, I'm here, we're in this together. Now the colors. What the title bar does, what the status bar does, I'll explain all these in a while. On the next screen, it'll be much easier to understand what's happening. So we click finish, Kodular initializes some stuff, creates our project, and very soon we're here. Now, whenever Kodular has an update, you'll see this what's new screen. It's nice, you get some cool change logs. You can now export AAVs, it's very nice. We are not going to read this right now, so we're going to close this. Now what you're looking at here is the main Kodular creator screen. Alright, now this is the device mockup. You'll drop your components here, you'll create your design, and you'll see more or less what it will look like on an actual device. Top-notch stuff. Now where do you get the components? Well, look around. On the left we have the components drawer. It's divided into categories such as user interface, layout with 4 different categories within it, media, drawing and animation, maps, sensors, etc. Under user interface we have the actual components itself, and not just user interface under any category. It's just the default category because of course for the user to interact with your app you need a user interface. Cool? Cool. What we'll do first is drag a button here. Now if you notice, the button was added to this place. Now what is this place called? We call it the components hierarchy. Now why the hierarchy? Because if I go and drag an arrangement here, and then a button within it. You will see horizontal arrangement 1 is within screen 1, and within horizontal arrangement 1 there's button 2. There's little indents. This is why we call it a hierarchy, because there are different levels as indicated by the indents. Anyway, we don't need this right now. We'll get to all these later. I intend to make videos outlining the different components one by one, and I'll devote a video to each and every vanilla Kodular component. Now, what is vanilla Kodular, you may ask? Vanilla Kodular is just Kodular without any extensions. Now, what are those? I'm glad you asked. You click extension and you can import extension here, which means you can import a file with the extension .aix. What this does is it adds a component that's preferably not in native Kodular itself, so it can extend the functionality of Kodular, and hence it's called an extension. Anyway, now we have selected screen 1. You know which component you have selected by the highlight. It will be highlighted in purple here. And whenever you select something, you will see that the rightmost pane is changing. What's this? It's the component property inspector. The property inspector lets you see the existing properties of your components, or in this case, the screen itself. And the screen 1 properties are special in that they control very critical aspects of your app, and I'll cover all of those later. This is just a first look video, so we're not going into that right now. Why did I drag the button here? You may ask, if this is just a first look, why did I interact with the creator? Well, it's just to show how the mockup works. Anyway, you will see 3 buttons here: assets, designer, and blocks. You start off in the designer because, of course, you need a user interface first. That's the first thing you make, because when the user opens your app, they have to see something. That something is the user interface. Now, why do we call it an interface? Because it connects the user with the app's data. Where's the data right now? Well, all these little properties are, in a way, data. We don't have true meaningful data right now, but once we get to making actual apps that your users will love to use, we'll have lots of data, trust me. So for now, we're going to blocks, and you'll see this nice grid area with a cute little backpack here, some cool buttons here, and some more cool buttons here, and lots of cool buttons here. Like, it's full of cool buttons. Not to get ahead of ourselves, we'll explain what these buttons do. On the left, we have the block categories. Built in is just whatever default categories of blocks Kodular has. We have the control blocks. These you will be familiar with if you have coded in any language earlier. If you're not familiar with these, don't worry, I will explain these. Next up, we have logic. These are used to check whether something is true, something is false, something is equal, etc. Math, for anything and everything related to numbers. Text, strings, or you can just call it text if you want, whichever you are comfortable with. And we can create a hello world right here. Ain't that beautiful? Yeah, you can zoom in with your trackpad if you have one, and if you're on desktop you have to use these zoom buttons. This centers your workspace like that, and the trash can, you can just drag blocks here. You can see it opens up the lid. We won't drop our beautiful hello world in there right now. What we will do is drag it here into the backpack. You see, the hello world is now in the backpack. What it enables us to do is to save blocks, or in many cases groups of blocks. So that's a huge block with dozens or hundreds of blocks, and you can just keep it all in the backpack, save it as a procedure or something, and when you need to use that block again, so let's say you want double tap to exit on your apps because it's a cool thing to have. So you could just make the blocks one time, save it all in your backpack, and then just drag it from there whenever you want to use it next. Very cool stuff, saves a lot of time, and yeah, coding is all about preventing headaches whenever you can. Anyway, next up we have lists. Lists are very interesting things and are one of the best forms of data because you can do a lot of cool stuff with lists. And the basic stuff is just hello world, hello. These are two texts in a list, and you can do stuff like picking items at random, nice stuff. Anyway, now it's a good opportunity to show how the trash can works. Either you click on a block and hit delete on your keyboard, that will delete all connected blocks. So if I delete this one, it will delete this one, like this. Or you can drag it into the trash can, same thing. Next up we have dictionaries. Dictionaries are basically what a JSON file does, and if you are not familiar with JSONs, don't worry, we'll get into that. Dictionaries are sort of advanced, so we might not get into these right away, but we will eventually. Next up, colors, because we all love colors, right? If you don't, no worries. You can have black or white, whatever. You can make colors. See that smooth transition right there? Haha. Anyway, you can make the color with 3 channels RGB, or you can optionally have the alpha, which is opacity. Cool stuff. We'll have demos with colors later on. Right now we're not going into that because I'll just reiterate, this is a first look. Variables. Variables are where you keep your data, most of the time at least. A global variable is accessible throughout the program. Now if we do get name, see global name, this will return the value of hello world, which is a string value, whenever we get this. And we can set name to something else or rename the value. So let's call this string, and if we make this hello universe for some reason, you want to greet more people, that's great. Aliens deserve some love too. Everyone deserves love. And now when we get global string, it will return hello universe. So the fun stuff is you can set global string to stuff, and you can see I'm just right clicking and duplicating. It's a time saving measure and you will be using this in the future. It's nice. Or you can just control C, control V if you want. Again, it's all about your comfort. So next up we have procedures. Now you can declare a do procedure or a result procedure. The result procedure returns something. It's a return type procedure. You see, call procedure has this kind of socket, whereas if we have procedure 2 here, which is a do type, it will not have a return socket. This kind of procedure can only be done, it doesn't return anything. Now what do I mean by return? Let's say I tell you to go to the shop and buy me an item A. If you come back and hand me the item A, you just performed a return procedure. I told you to do something, you returned me the result. You went to the shop, that's what you did. You returned me an item. That's the value return. And in the do type of procedure, you go to the shop, you may buy the item, you may walk around, you may talk with the shopkeeper. It's up to you. I don't get to know what you did. I don't get to know the result of your action. That's the big difference. So this closes up the built-in block categories. Next up, you'll have, let's just collapse this for now, screen 1. If you are on a different screen, by adding screen here, you'll have the blocks for that screen. But again, note, screen 1 is special because it has many blocks which are critical to your app, like version code, version name, and lots of other stuff. We'll go in depth with every component in future videos. So I'll leave this for now and head over to button 1. Now why button 1? Because it's the first button we dragged into the work area. The next button will be called button 2 and so on. It's just the default naming. You can rename the button just by going into the designer and clicking this pencil icon. So you don't want it to be called button 1. You want it to be called button 1. You see, now it's button 1 and automatically it's renamed here and all the blocks are renamed. Very cool. Now you may see some very interesting looking blocks, some different types of blocks with different colorations. We'll get into what all this means again in future videos. And last but not the least, these sparkly any component components and their blocks, these are a bit advanced and we won't be covering these very soon, but in the future we will surely get to those, because trust me, you can do some really cool stuff with these. And that brings us to an end of our first look at the Kodular creator. In the next video we will be taking user input in a way and we'll make the app do something, because right now if I were to export and just export an APK, because you can't install an AAB directly, you have to upload it to the Play Store and download it from there. We're not going through that right now. If I were to just compile an APK, I'd have a button that does nothing. I'd have a menu that has only the about screen, basic stuff, the basic title. We haven't customized anything yet, just our beautiful button 1. So all of that, user interaction, button clicks, next video. For now, thanks for watching. I'm just starting off with Caffeine TV and I hope you like it. I'm afraid the videos might get a bit long and I might go off on a tangent because I really tend to go off topic, but yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Make sure to subscribe, I guess. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, a thumbs down if you just didn't for some reason. It's okay, I appreciate that. But I'll also appreciate if you head over to the comments and let me know what you think. Until next time, happy coding.